Look better when they shoot down on us. Oh.
All right, we're good. My name is Javi Bettis, alongside Your Highness, the King. Jerry the King Lawler in town for River City Wrestling. Such an honor to have a WWE Hall of Famer. Such a big, important person in the world of wrestling. Still, after all these years, did you think that when you got started it would be 2018 and you'd still be traveling the country?
I had no idea, Javi. I promise you, back when I first started, I had no idea that one day I would be a WWE legend. But here I am killing it, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, absolutely. I'm actually going to pull some notes over here that I got to remember, just because this is a great show.
Did you just walk off camera?
Overloaded. Overloaded. Yeah, it's live. That's what we got to do. Overloaded. So River City Wrestling event is going to be at the Turner Club. Doors open at 7. Show starts at 8. Jerry the King Lawler will be wrestling the local champion, Joey Spector. We also got Colt Cabana is also going to be in town. That's going to be a really big deal. He's going to wrestle Fallah Bah from Impact Wrestling. The women's champion, Rebel, also from Impact Wrestling, is going to wrestle Scarlett Bordeaux, and then the Lucha match, Laredo Kid versus Hernandez. You know we love our Lucha Libre.
Absolutely.
Here in San Antonio, but the King.
We were just on the Chris Jericho's wrestling cruise, and for the entire 5 days on our TV, every time you turn the TV on in your cabin, all you could see was the movie with Jack Black, Nacho Libre, over and over and over. But no, I love Lucha Libre.
Yeah, absolutely, and wrestling is San Antonio is sort of one of those towns that's always had a small wrestling presence, and it's always been deep. I can remember, my parents can remember.
A small wrestling presence?
Well, they can, my parents can always remember, at least on the local level, from the territory days. Not a lot of people talk about it. I mean, we still get the big shows. We just had the Royal Rumble here.
Yeah, you're
that
right.
was the 20th anniversary
that's what I mean.
of the Alamo Dome.
This is San Antonio's big town for WWE, but we got to stop calling it a town. Vince McMahon hates it when you refer to cities. Yeah, that's the old school thing. We used to call them all towns.
The big metropolitan San Antonio wrestling community.
WWE does not wrestle in towns.
My parents can remember. My parents grew up in the San Antonio area. They can remember growing up and watching Cowboy Bob Orton, and in particular, and a lot of the other guys that would be on local television. What are some of your memories from San Antonio, whether it be from your WWE days or preceding that?
Yeah, well, preceding that, I didn't wrestle. I didn't get to wrestle in San Antonio much. I did a lot of wrestling in Dallas against the Von Erichs. As a matter of fact, that's where our Memphis territory combined and hooked up with the Dallas territory and the Von Erichs. Back when Fritz was around, and we kind of formed a company called the USWA. So I was down in Texas almost on a weekly basis, but didn't get to San Antonio until basically I got into the WWE. And then a lot of shows, a lot of matches here. One in particular, we had. Oh my gosh! You're gonna have to help me with his name. The guy that was the Texas Ranger guy on TV that does the karate.
Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris was at one of our shows, and I was ever so shocked to see how short Chuck Norris was. And then they had him go out in the ring and he beat up 7 or 8 people. But it was cool to have him there.
He probably could have done more. He's Chuck Norris.
Exactly, you're right. But San Antonio has always been great. I've always loved to come here. Have my fiance is with me, Lauren, sitting right over there right now, and we came in a day early because we really enjoy San Antonio. Great place to sightsee. And one of the things you guys have here, all of Texas, that we don't have up in my home state of Tennessee, Whataburgers.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. All right, Jerry the King Lawler endorsing Whataburger.
I do. I absolutely love them.
We're gonna give him a shout out on Twitter for that, or Facebook, or get you some endorsement deals while you're here.
Yeah, just give me a free meal. That's
but honestly, you know what? Like, that's something that happens a lot. It's everybody sort of thinks of it as a Texas thing for Texans, but when we had the Royal Rumble here, and very recently, I believe it was TLC was in town. Mick Foley was here, and he went to Whataburger.
Sure.
And I guess just a lot of people, just when they come to Texas,
well, I
they
mean, a lot of people don't have it in their home state. It's no Whataburgers anywhere up north. I think the closest one to us in Memphis, my hometown. We used to have Whataburgers, but for some reason, years ago, they went out. There's one in Jackson, Mississippi, but then the next place I can think of, they're throughout Louisiana, Texas, and Oklahoma, and that's all I know.
I have some friends in Florida that talk about the Whataburger in Florida. They say it's just not the same. They say
I know.
it's just
I don't even. We have a second home in Fort Myers, and I've never seen a Whataburger.
I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure what part of Florida it is, but I think there's Whataburger in Florida.
Maybe.
But they say it's not the same. But I mean, San Antonio is a great place for Whataburger. I mean,
Absolutely.
you get politicians, celebrities, everybody loves to
Now,
go.
don't tell my opponent, Joey Spector, that I'm going to be loaded up on Whataburgers and try to take advantage of me. You know, that's one of the things about this. I've heard a lot about Joey Spector, and you know, he's really thinking that this is going to make a big name for himself with the WWE. He's thinking that tomorrow night, if he beats the King, the word's going to go back, and he's going to immediately get a call from Vince McMahon saying, "Hey, Joey, you're hired," and have him come right up to the WWE. But first of all, that might happen. It really might happen, but you'd have to beat me first.
Yeah, we'll see about that. And if you want to see that match, you're going to have to go to the Turner Club. Again, tickets are available at the door
right now.
You know, and they're available right now online. You can go to River City Wrestling on Facebook and find the link there. But the other thing too is that I love that I'm in a position in the journalism business where I get to talk to old wrestlers that I used to love watching when I was a kid. Although in a lot of cases, like with your case, do you have a lot of people that come up to you and say, "Man, like, I hated you as a kid"?
Yes, I do.
Like I did.
Yes, I do. Yeah, because you know what?
I was a Bret Hart kid.
Oh my gosh.
I did not care. Like again, like San Antonio, second home. Spent a lot of time here growing up, but I knew Shawn Michaels was from here. I hated Shawn Michaels
Because he was wrestling Bret Hart?
Because he was wrestling Bret Hart.
Oh my goodness.
And then especially you have so legendary work that you did with him, like not only getting in on him, but getting in on his family.
Yeah.
It's just like,
and I hear that a
man.
lot. You know, and I used to worry for a while that some of the insults and some of the one-liners that I threw at Stu and Helen, Bret's parents, that it might make them upset. And I didn't really know. I didn't get a chance to be around them much. But later on, just a matter of fact, just like last year, Bret and I were in the same city and the same place, and he came to me and he said, "You know what?" He said, "I used to think that my parents would be upset about some of the things you said." And I used to think they were too, because one time when he put the sharpshooter on me trying to break me in half, I figured, oh, he's upset about his parents. But he told me last year, he said, "My mother finally came out and told me that they loved it." They were so excited because they, you know, brought them in and made them part of the show, and they, you know, because of the things I said about them, they would show them on TV a lot, you know. So he said, no, they were really fond of the whole, you know, the whole situation. That was I still to this day now, you can tell how many years ago, but still the biggest payoff that I've ever gotten for a wrestling match was no, I take it back. I did get bigger when I wrestled at WrestleMania, but it was for the longest time the biggest payoff was the Kiss My Foot match with Bret Hart. Yeah. That was some fond memories too. We did so many funny things that were entertaining. You know, going out to horse stables and tromping through the manure and stuff like that to try to make my foot just as disgusting.
The vitriol was there. I can't remember a character that I hated more than you.
Gosh.
Like, honestly.
Have you gotten over it yet?
A little bit. If
not, I can give you a pile driver.
Just a little bit. The other thing, too, is that, you know, your sort of fame and your impact on the business hasn't just been limited to WWE. In fact, it started a lot earlier than that and then sort of came back because, again, like as a kid, when I was growing up, I sort of grew up with the early days of Monday Night Raw, and so the territory days were kind of behind me. And then I saw Man on the Moon, and saw all the work you did with, you know, quite frankly, you know, almost a comedy hero of mine in Andy Kaufman.
Oh, you said the wrong word. Andy hated to be called a comedian. He used to be adamant about that. He said, "I'm not a comedian. I've never told a joke in my life." Andy was a performance artist, and he was really, you know, tried to impress that on everyone. And that was one of the things that happened with Andy. He was a wrestling fan growing up, and he told me one time, he said, "I used to just idolize Nature Boy Buddy Rogers." He said, "I love the guy," and he said, "But when I watch him on TV," he said, "I could tell that he was intentionally trying to make me hate him." Right? But I still loved him. And, you know, it made such an impression on Andy that's what he tried to do once he got into comedy, you know, at the stand-up clubs and all of the different things. He hated doing Taxi. He hated doing sitcoms. And when he was doing shows, he preferred a negative reaction from the audience more so than laughter and clapping and everything. He loved to have the people just sit there going like, what is wrong with this guy? I mean, some of the times, if he would go to do a show, and if people in the audience start asking, hey, do Lotka or whatever, he'd say, okay, hang on. And he would go off stage, bring a podium out on stage, and he had the book, The Great Gatsby. And he would open the book and start reading from page 1 and just sit there or stand there and read that book in a monotone voice until every person in the theater had gotten up and left. And as the last one was leaving, he'd go, thank you very much. And that's, I mean, that's just the kind of guy he was. But yeah, he and I had a match back in 1982 down in Memphis because he started, he wanted to play out that bad guy wrestler deal. So he started out wrestling women, didn't think he could wrestle men. And I finally, once we had him down to Memphis wrestling some women, I just wanted to get the rub off this big Hollywood star, right? So I said, Andy, you and I, you can have a match with a man. You and I can have a match. And he went, oh no, I'll get hurt and everything. And I kind of assured him that he wouldn't get hurt. Anyway, we had the match. I gave him a couple pile drivers, and he went to the hospital and stayed in the hospital for 3 days with his neck in traction. Then a few months later, we wound up on the David Letterman show where things he was supposed to apologize for making fun of wrestling, and I was supposed to apologize to him for hurting his neck, and he was going to get up and sing What the World Needs Now Is Love, Sweet Love. Well, that didn't happen. He never apologized.
That's what was
laid out to happen.
Yeah, that's what David Letterman is sitting there thinking
David was waiting for.
Thinking that you guys are going to apologize and do this.
We had each gone in separately that morning. The segment producer, Robert Morton, met with us for like an hour, and he told us, this is what we want you to do. We're going to show the clips of you giving Andy the pile driver and show the clips of him making fun of Memphis and wrestling. And then you guys are going to be on 2 segments. First segment, be a little antagonistic, not too much, but then he said, Dave will take a break. Second segment, Andy will apologize for making fun of wrestling. You apologize to Andy for hurting his neck. And then Andy's going to get up and sing What the World Needs Now Is Love, Sweet Love. So we did the first segment, took a break, came back with the second segment. Andy never apologized. I never apologized to him. Finally, I think Dave said, well, this has gone off the tracks. This is not right. So he's going to take another break. And I realized when Paul Schaefer started playing the music that we were done. So I just stood up, and looked Andy in the eyes, and hauled off and slapped the taste out of his mouth. Knocked him out of the chair, and I really thought, honestly, I thought I was going to get arrested. But, everything just went crazy from there. They wound up showing the whole segment. It made national news. It made national headlines. David Letterman told me later that for years they referred to that as the famous show. He said that was their very first year at late night, and that put them in the headlines, and it made them. They took off from there.
So were you waiting for a cue from Andy, and it just never came? So you just sort of rolled with it, or
yeah? Well, I was waiting for him to apologize, to do the apology.
So he was supposed to apologize first.
Yeah,
and when he didn't, you just sort of rolled with it.
And so and a lot of people have said over the years, after watching like Man on the Moon, that Andy and I later on did sort of start working together. But at that time, I had no idea I was going to slap him. He certainly had no idea, and sort of Dave had no idea. It was just one of those things that happened, and that's the way Andy was. He was a great improvisational guy. And if you want to go on YouTube and look up Lawler, Kaufman on Letterman, and watch the unedited version. It's on YouTube. You just click on that, and you'll see that after I slapped him, we went back on the air again, and Andy came out and just went into this tirade of swearing, cursing, and it was crazy. And then I thought at that point, I said, well, it's no way. I guess they're going to show the slap because they got us back out here. But I said, there's no way they're going to show this, Andy. What are you doing? But he. They wound up showing it all. It was crazy.
And with the amazing thing, what was so impactful about that moment that a modern audience might not understand is that at the time, professional wrestling was sport. It wasn't sports entertainment.
Right. Yeah. So, nobody had brought any kind of actors or any kind of anybody from the entertainment world. Yeah.
So the hatred for that.
Yeah.
Like for that.
It was so funny in Memphis, but where Andy came down and was in that local area was the big, the big bad guy, the big heel, talking bad about women in the South. Everybody hated Andy. The rest of the country, everybody loved him. So when they saw me slap him on David Letterman, all of a sudden they hated me. It was like the Bret Hart thing again, So it went crazy. Then later on, of course, we wound up doing the movie Man on the Moon with Jim Carrey playing Andy Kaufman. And I had to wind up slapping him harder than I slapped Andy Kaufman because he was a total jerk.
He was,
still is to this day.
There's a Netflix documentary about that.
Yeah, please
about how
watch that.
About how basically Jim Carrey was not, the
well,
guy
I'll tell you,
was not the actor he was.
Jim Carrey never actually met Andy, and of course I knew Andy very well. Worked with him right up until he got cancer and started taking chemotherapy and all that stuff until he passed away. But Jim Carrey had no idea what he thought he was channeling Andy Kaufman. He was doing this method acting, and he showed up for 88 days now, 88 straight days, he showed up on set to do this movie, already in full makeup, already in costume. He was Andy Kaufman. The director was Milos Forman, one of the top directors, directed One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and all this stuff. Even he had to refer to Jim Carrey as Andy. If you call him Jim, wouldn't answer. He was Andy. He thought he was. But he was really, in reality, nothing like Andy was in
and
real
you're one
life.
of the people that could speak to that.
Yes, exactly. And so, I mean, he thought Andy and I were just, hated each other. And so he did all this stuff on the set, and that's why you got to watch. It's called Jim and Andy, The Great Beyond on Netflix right now. You can watch him behind the scenes doing all of this antagonistic stuff towards me until finally, I guess he forgot. He did so many crazy things. He spit in my face at one time during the filming of the movie, and I grabbed him by his throat and wrestled him to the ground. He went to the hospital, had me fired off the movie. It was all kind of crazy stuff. But anyway,
and it's kind of,
and he's still to this day. He's never been the same after making that movie. If you watch it, if you wait till you see this, what he looks like now, he's out there. He never came back from being part Andy and part Jim.
And so as a result, like sort of the stuff that you've done, when it goes back to that, like it's right up there with the WWE work that you've done because of the way it's been documented, and now we have people on the WWE network that can go back and watch some of your older stuff as well.
Exactly.
Have you felt sort of the impact of people who have watched your old stuff on YouTube or watched stuff on the network?
I get that. I really get that all the time.
People who weren't even alive, like before you were inducted into the Hall of Fame, or fans of yours.
Well, the funny thing, I started wrestling. I've been doing it for 47 years. I started in 1971, and like you said, back in what we called the territory days, that was before cable TV, when all the TV shows, the wrestling shows, all around the country, they were in each city, and that was when you only had 3 stations to watch. You had
sponsored by a local grocer or something.
Exactly.
It would air on Saturday or Sunday mornings. That's the way my parents talk about how they watch wrestling.
So I did that from 1971 all the way up to 1993. So that was a long time of doing that. And I mean, that was like traveling and wrestling every single night in a different city. Then in 93, I started in the WWE, started wrestling there. First of all, went against Bret the Hitman Hart, went against Ultimate Warrior, Roddy Piper, a bunch of different guys. Doink the Clown, big pay-per-view shows with him. Anyway, somewhere during what we call the Monday Night Wars, Randy Macho Man Savage and Vince McMahon were doing the commentary. Vince was play-by-play, and Randy was doing the color commentary. And I was getting ready to wrestle one night, and I never forget, it was somewhere in Pennsylvania, up in the Pocono Mountains. We're getting ready to have Monday Night Raw, and at that time, WCW came on like an hour before Raw, and it was in the time when the different wrestlers were like jumping ship and going for the highest amount of money. They was somebody get offered a lot more money, they'd jump ship. Well, sure enough, I'll never forget, Vince was looking around saying, anybody seen Randy? I want to talk to him. I want to get with him about what we're going to have on the show tonight. And at like 7 o'clock, somebody said, Vince, check out the TV. And Vince looked over, and there's Macho Man on WCW. Oh yeah, he just jumped ship. Didn't tell anybody. He just left, and I got to give the credit to Vince. I mean, he just looked, and he just with no expression on his face, he just went, King, can you help me out tonight? Will you do color with me tonight? And next week I'll have somebody do it on a regular basis. So that's the way it started out. 25 years later, 25 years later, I'm still doing it. So.
Do you had you done anything like that before? Because I mean, one of the things about your career too is that you're remembered as a great broadcaster as well, just calling the matches. And
but no, that was the first time.
When people get compared, we've got Corey Graves who's doing very well on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live. One of the ultimate comparisons, it feels like it's you and Bobby Heenan when it comes to people calling matches on TV.
Yeah, well, I mean, I got to tell you, working with Vince McMahon right off the bat was amazing. Vince, he never gave himself credit for how good of a play-by-play guy he was. He was so easy to work with, so much fun to work with. But then along came JR, and he and I somehow just had great chemistry. And it worked for 20, like I said, 20 plus years of JR and I every Monday night and every Tuesday night. We were the voice of Monday Night Raw on WWE for years and years and years. But believe it or not, no, commentating was not something that I ever thought about doing when I got in the wrestling business. Never even.
But talking had always been your forte.
Well, yeah, I mean,
riling up the audience.
Yeah, that was always good, but that was just a few minutes of talking on a show to get ready for a match, But then sitting there for 3 hours talking, it really wasn't that much fun. I mean, I would have much rather been wrestling every single night rather than doing the commentary, but. It worked out okay, I guess.
Yeah, it seemed to. Obviously, your career is still going and people still know you for
Yeah, you can have a longer career as a commentator than you can as a wrestler.
Yeah, pretty easy that way. Although you stay in better shape as a wrestler, I think.
Probably. I guess, if round is a shape.
A couple more questions for you. ESPN 30 for 30 did an excellent documentary about Ric Flair. There are so many Ric Flair stories out there. Mm-hmm. What's your best one?
I don't know. Rick is probably one of the greatest of all time. But he and I, as much as our careers were sort of similar, we didn't really wrestle each other that many times, 4 or 5 times over all of those years. Is all Rick and I actually wrestled against each other. Best Ric Flair story? Most of Rick's stories used to involve drinking or that sort of thing. And I, in my whole life and all of the years that I've been on this earth, have never tasted alcohol, not even a sip, not even one sip of beer, wine, whiskey, or anything. And so I didn't really run in the same circles as
well, that's why you look so good after nearly 50 years in the business.
But anyway, he just, one of my fun stories was just at SmackDown 1000. Rick and I were dressing in the same area, and he had just, he just got married. And so, I came up to him and hadn't seen him in a long time, and we did a little hug and all that kind of stuff, and I said, well, congratulations. And he said, for what? I said, well, you just got married. And he said, I did? And it was like he was serious, right? And then he said, oh, but this time I married a woman with money. So, Rick's, he's just a cool guy, and he's a lot of fun to be around now. He's so proud of his daughter, Charlotte, and what she's, the success that she's having, and he's just... he's a special guy.
Last question. It's kind of a multi-parter. You can answer it, not answer it. You are still involved with the network. You still do some shows and things like that.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm going to be at Survivor Series. Going to be doing the pre-show at Survivor Series, which is coming up November the 18th in Los Angeles, Staples Center. So I'm excited about that. Just did SmackDown 1000, and so yeah, I was a little bit happy, but only because of the travel is so exhausting that I didn't have to go and do the Saudi Arabia show, which I guess is today or tomorrow or whenever it is. But JR and I went over to the first
one
show, and it was cool. The place it was an amazing experience to see the people, and it's almost like you could just tell the fact that they were such huge wrestling fans. They knew everything about WWE, all the fans, and there were 70,000 of them in this big stadium, and it's like they want to be westernized, like they want to be like what they see how we live on TV and that sort of thing, But just that sort of thing was great. But 19 and a half hours flying over there, and then we were on the ground for less than 24 hours, and then flew right back.
Coming right back.
Yeah, so I don't miss that. So it was a real good payday.
Oh, right. Clearly, but that's one of the things at the heart of that issue. But
and now my good friend Hulk Hogan has come back.
Is coming back. Yeah. So it seems like you weren't asked to go this time around.
They got Hulk hosting the show instead of me and JR hosting.
Okay,
which is what happened last time.
So you didn't necessarily get a chance to opt out.
No, I didn't know.
How do you feel about some people choosing not to participate in that show?
Man, I don't know. I try not to think too much about it. I don't like to get all political if I can help it, And I don't know. Here's the problem with us here in this country. We all think that everybody else thinks like us. and that if they don't, we're mad at them, right? But they don't, and especially people in other countries don't think like we think, and they don't live like we live. And you know what goes on in Saudi Arabia has been going on over there since the beginning of time. It's a whole different culture, it's a whole different lifestyle, and you know we get upset with all of a sudden, and you know things that happen over there that I think are really kind of none of our business. And so I don't know. If I'd been asked to go, I would have gone. I would not have refused to go. You know.
Okay, interesting. But yeah, I mean that's one of the things at the forefront of the industry. I mean, it's among the reasons that WWE is being talked about at the top, just because the company, I guess it sort of comes with the territory. The company becomes so big, and that's exactly what they want to do. You want to be making money. You want to reach more people. You want to be a global brand.
Exactly.
But as a result, you end up becoming.
And let me say this: I think that one of the other things that's in the mind of the WWE as a company is, I think they look at this as a chance to help. Sort of what we would think is bring these people, you know, into the present or into the future. Like when we were over there before, excuse me, when we were over there for the show before, it was like the big deal was they were just allowing women to learn to drive.
Right.
You know, and now and on the first show, it wasn't kosher. It was no women, no divas or female wrestlers were allowed to go. This time, Renee Young is going to be on the broadcast team. So, I mean, that is like, believe it, it's a baby step, but it's a step forward. And I think that some things like that, I think that the WWE can make a difference in a positive way in the culture of the people there.
Last question, because I'm a big fan of his, so I'm just going to ask you. Thoughts on Peter Rosenberg?
Who is that?
All right, that's it. Thank you so much, Jerry Lawler.
I'm
River City Wrestling.
I thought his name was Rosenblum.
Rosen something.
Something.
Yeah, I think the first part of that is right. But
like
Jerry the King Lawler, you'll be able to see him at the Turner Club tomorrow. River City Wrestling. Go and support local wrestling.
The cool thing about tomorrow, like you said, the doors open at 7 o'clock. And what happens with WWE events? They're so big, and it's almost impossible to have one-on-one interaction with the wrestlers. Colt Cabana, myself, all the wrestlers at River City are going to be out there for the hour before the match. You can come up, you can say hi, you can get your pictures made, you can get autographs and all that sort of stuff. Starting at 7 o'clock tomorrow. And that's
it's so much fun. If you're a WWE fan or a pro wrestling fan, you've never been to a local show, make this one your first and just see what it's like for a good pro wrestling show.
Turner Club,
7 o'clock. Show starts at 8. Mr. King, Mr. Lawler, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
For Jerry Lawler, Javi Pettis, Ken's 5.